Hello, my name is Rick. This is the Dwarven Fortress of Swampcavern. Here we have the fort's first axe team, known as the Axes of Felling, hanging out with some giant tigers in the tavern. The fort's mightiest warrior is in here, somewhere. There are many things that can make a warrior mighty in Dwarf Fortress. Being brave, being well trained, having good armor and equipment. I would imagine most players who have played Dwarf Fortress have a dwarf that stands out as the most accomplished fighter they've ever seen. I've had a few memorable ones. I had a well-liked king ignore a civilian alert to go fight a dragon bare-handed. I've had an important weaponsmith fight a pack of crundles while dangling one-handed over an active volcano. They were immensely brave, but also extremely foolish, as it did not go well for any of them. I like hostile worlds. As a lot of my forts last about 14 years or so, I've seen a lot of troops get trained on years' worth of cave monsters. I've seen hunters become extremely high level just from fighting things on their own. I remember some taking on cave dragons when I wasn't watching, and win. Probably some of the best trained, most powerful troops were the hunters from my old forts, and some I managed to switch into my military. But far more often, they took on too much eventually and got killed, with me only noticing when I was notified that they had died. That's why I don't use hunting to train my crossbow troops anymore. I'm a big fan of the regions known as Untamed Wilds. You get pretty crazy monsters in the cave layers of normal Dwarf Fortress. I feel like the ones in Untamed Wilds are even more monstrous and frequent. The Fortress of Swampcavern is the most successful fort I've ever made. It's the most valuable, the most thought out, and the longest lived. Currently, the version my fans have been seeing is about 20 years old. It also has the best fighting force of any fort I've ever made. This fort had access to steel early on, and is built on a tower of a shiny blue stone that makes a shiny blue metal. The troops have been practicing for years, and when they are not practicing in the barracks, they've been defending the fort against 16 sieges, endless waves of crundles, hungry heads and giant cave spiders in the caves, and half the forgotten beasts in the world. I don't mean a lot. I mean this fortress has killed almost half the forgotten beasts that this smaller world that they live in started with. With that kind of combat experience, this fort has the best trained warriors I've ever seen in the game. But one of these stands out from the others. There are many mighty heroes in this fortress, but this video is about the dwarf Crow Girl, the mightiest dwarven hero I've ever seen. For a dwarf, what is there beyond just personally killing waves of nameless cave monsters? Well, there's werebeasts, giants, giant animals, forgotten beasts, or titans. Crow Girl briefly had a competition with another dwarf who had killed 2 forgotten beasts personally, since Crow Girl at the time had only killed 1 forgotten beast and a bronze colossus. Eventually she put any doubts to rest when she got her second forgotten beast, adding it to her record as the only dwarf in the fort to have killed a bronze colossus. In this video, I will show Crow Girl's stats and skills, and the long list of things that she has killed. We'll take a look at what she's doing, what she's been thinking about, and what she's been doing lately. We can take a quick look at her armor and favorite weapon, an adamantine battle axe that she named the Grim Distrust, which I think is one of the most badass things ever. I'll talk about Crow Girl's history in the fort. She was the first and still the best militia captain in the fort, and a few of the fights she's been in have been memorable. I will talk about her history with giant jumping spiders, how she was fired from her job of militia captain for insubordination, briefly, during the incident with Bronze Colossus. Here's Crow Girl's stats, as seen in Dwarf Therapist. As you can see, she's really good at the things that make you a good fighter. Other abilities, not so much. She's the strongest dwarf in the entire fort, and is quite agile, although not the best at that. Here is her military skills. She's maxed out in a number of them like Axe Dwarf, Discipline, Dodger, and Fighter. As great as she is at these various things, I really appreciate her skill as a teacher. She's been sharing her knowledge of axe use with the squad for a long time, and she's good at it. I'm not sure Krogirl's kill list is complete. For one thing, the therapist and in-game counts don't match. This fort went through a couple versions of Dwarf Fortress, and is a little the worse for wear from it. Some of the dwarves' kill lists look kind of bugged just looking at them. I think some of her more insignificant kills may have been forgotten. Even if this is accurate, her kill count is quite impressive. I'm not going to read Krogirl's complete kill list to you. If you're interested, you can do that yourself from this screen. But I am going to talk about some of the ones that stand out. Jolus the Kobold is impressive because Krogirl was wearing full plate steel armor at the time, and she still managed to run down and kill a kobold as fast as those guys are, which is quite the impressive feat of having high agility and high armor use skill in the year 127. In the year 128, she killed Elbel Judged Stabbed, the Shocks of Renown, the Bronze Colossus, against express orders to not do so. She was fired for insubordination, and that didn't stop her from running out and killing it anyways. She killed a number of named goblins, but of particular interest would be Nako Ruthless Calls the Elf, who was almost certainly a leader of a goblin invasion, because for some reason elves were always put in charge of those. And then again, she's killed Telling Clam Drinks, the Forgotten Beast, and Seakill Depth Puzzle, the Forgotten Beast. So she has easily the most dramatic, notable kills in the entire fort. Some of her other 121 other kills are quite impressive as well. 2 giant jumping spiders male, 1 giant jumping spider female. Yeah, that's pretty impressive scary monster to take out. Giant slugs, giant grasshopper, 2 giant ticks, ew. A giant wild boar, a giant bat. Giant bats can fly. How did she kill it with her axe? It must have swooped in low enough to try to get her. Still kind of funny. 32 Crundles, male. 35 Crundles, female. That's the kind of results you get from years of waves of invasions in the caves. Then you've got 14 goblins, male, and 10 goblins, female. That's the sort of thing you get from having so many sieges. Let's go take a look at Krogirl right now. Here she is. She's sparring, which is not surprising. Let's take a quick look at her skill list. Although she's amazing at military skills, she has found time for other stuff too. She's also a legendary mason, a dabbling animal trainer, a proficient brewer, although she's very rusty at it, and a number of other things. A very well-rounded dwarf, Krogirl is also a dabbling dancer, musician, and singer. She has some practice with some poetry, and she's actually adequate at one of the dances that she knows how to do. Here's what she's wearing and carrying: a mix of masterfully made armor and worn-out clothes. She's carrying her named weapon and shield. Krogirl's axe is an interesting artifact in its own right. She's had it for a long time, and she's gotten most of her kills with it. Krogirl is carrying an adamantine battle axe that she named the Grim Distrust, which I think is just awesome. On the item is some goblin blood spatter. She's killed most of the things that she's killed using this axe, including the elf leader of a goblin invasion, 2 forgotten beasts. The axe has 109 kills on it. So, Krogirl, what's on your mind? She says, I had a sparring session. I'm very pleased. I'm not going to read off every single thing about her, but I am going to go over some of the ones that jump out at me. Um, she felt pleasure after a sparring session. Within the last season, she felt satisfied upon improving shield. She felt euphoric due to inebriation. She felt satisfied after teaching miscellaneous object use. Um, she was lonely after being away from family for too long, and what that really means is she couldn't or wouldn't socialize. Some of the family she's missing aren't at the fort and are almost certainly dead, so there's really nothing we can do about that. She felt satisfied upon improving fighting. She didn't feel anything after seeing a goblin die. She didn't feel anything after seeing a goblin die again and again and again. She didn't feel anything after seeing a helmet snake die. This is all within the last season. A lot of the people in this fort have the property of being hardened, so seeing death doesn't really bother them. And seeing as how she's been here for the longest and has done so much of the killing, I guess it really isn't bothering her too much. She felt satisfied at work. She was interested after reading Exploring the Human, which is a book. She is unbelievably strong, absolutely inexhaustible, amazingly agile, incredibly tough, and quick to heal. She likes native silver, trifle pewter, jasper opal, bilou leather, giant muskox horn, the color eggplant, and crow men for their intelligence. And that's how she got her nickname, was she liked crow men, but we didn't want to call her crow men, so we called her crow girl instead. Most of the dwarves in this fort don't like their nicknames. It's kind of a point of pride. Most people don't get a nickname that they like. I don't know if Crow Girl minds hers. It is a reflection on her personality. One thing about Crow Girl is she really, really doesn't like taking orders, which is kind of strange because of the things that she does value. She feels strong urges and seeks short-term rewards, and I think this has a lot to do with that. She sees a monster over there, and she's just going to run off and kill it, even if she's been ordered not to, even if she's been ordered to stand somewhere else, even if she's been told that she's fired from the military. She is not going to take no for an answer. I say that because it literally happened. Uh, when the bronze colossus attacked the fort, the leaders told her and her whole squad to go stand at the entrance to the fort so that the monster could go through some traps, which it probably wouldn't fall into, but at least there would be a chance. And then the leadership saw that she was ignoring that order and was just charging towards it. And so they told her, "You're fired. You're not in the military anymore. Go obey the civilian alert. Stop fighting this thing." And she was like, "Ha, no. I see it. I'm going to go fight it and win." And she did. But, of course, she was then immediately reinstated into the military because she was the most competent and powerful officer that they had. She has a great deal of respect for the law. She greatly prizes loyalty, values family greatly. She believes that honesty is a high ideal. She greatly respects artists. She really respects those that take the time to master a skill. So a lot of these things are very consistent. It's not surprising that she values martial prowess, seeing as how she's great at it. But with all these things like respect for the law, you'd think she would take orders well, which she does not. Perhaps that has something to do with she can sometimes act without deliberation, and she tends to hang on to grievances. If she sees a monster, she considers it a personal challenge. She really doesn't like it. She exhales slowly and deliberately when she starts getting bored. She taps her feet constantly when she's nervous. She likes working outdoors and grumbles only mildly at inclement weather. She doesn't really care about anything anymore. That's that property that allows her to not be worried about it when she sees death around her. Looking at Crowgirl's relationships, she is friends with almost all of the starting 7 dwarves, except for Aquaman, who she's only on friendly terms with. When Swampcavern was founded, the dwarves were fully aware that they were going to embark on untamed wilds surrounded by goblin pits. They arrived with 2 dwarves with some combat skills, Crowgirl and Goldsnake. Crowgirl had some skills with an axe and dodging. Goldsnake was trained to use a crossbow. They came prepared with no armor, but 3 axes, a crossbow, and a few precious bolts. The plan was that if anything bad happened right away, at least they would have a weapon and some dodging ability. Something bad did happen right away. The moment they stepped onto the map, there were some spider webs on the surface, along with a giant jumping spider. It proved to be a threat. It kept running up to the dwarves as they got started, and then running away, possibly threatening to attack every time it got too close. Crowgirl and Goldsnake were ordered to stand between the spider and the other dwarves and kill or discourage it from getting too close again. This marks the first of many times Crowgirl would disobey orders. Wearing her civilian clothes, wield a crappy bronze or copper battle axe, she said, "I got this," and unencumbered by any real armor, she ran off and chased the spider down, despite the fact that it was wicked fast. When it attacked, she jumped away and chopped one of its legs off, then another. When it fell over, she closed in and chopped it some more. Once on the ground, it could not withstand that much chopping. Crowgirl defeated a giant jumping spider, mostly by herself, without taking so much as a scratch of damage. This established a pattern of Crowgirl being good at her job of killing monsters for the fort and bad at obeying orders. Swampcavern made steel early on in its history, and by the year 127 Crowgirl was wearing full iron armor, had a steel battle axe, and probably a steel helmet. The kobold Jolus showed up and was spotted at the entrance of the fort. Crowgirl shot out like a rocket, and as fast as that kobold was, a determined and possibly bloodthirsty dwarf wearing full plate mail chased it down and killed it. A dwarf in full armor catching up to a kobold is a pretty rare event, and marked her as having unusual abilities. Specifically, a dwarf with a high dexterity and several levels of armor use can move extremely quickly. One of the first signs of Crowgirl not liking to obey orders was an early siege in Swampcavern. I had ordered the troops to group up at the entrance to the fort when a small group of goblins popped up early on. Crowgirl grabbed a few trusted soldiers and went out and killed all the goblins when I wasn't looking. I was watching troops assemble when suddenly the siege just ended. Then in the year 128, the bronze colossus showed up. We had a few cage traps in the entrance to the fort, and even though I know they don't work on mega beasts, I was hoping against hope maybe we'd get lucky, and it would anyway. We had a civilian alert going, so most of the fort was safely inside, but I saw a Crowgirl headed toward the entrance, like she somehow knew it was out there. The administration of Swampcavern didn't want her to fight the Colossus by herself. They wanted it to fall into a trap, or at worst, fight all the soldiers at once. They were expecting a tough fight, so they fired her on the spot. As she strode toward the Colossus, someone must have shouted at her, "You're fired! You're not a militia captain now. You're not even in the military anymore. Go back!" What they didn't expect was that civilian Crowgirl was so determined that, against orders, ignoring the civilian alert, she marched out to confront the bronze colossus all by herself. Well, almost. What I'm about to say is read directly from the notes I took at the time. Lammer, the recruit, too stupid to obey orders, is now standing right next to the thing. It's not like we didn't have time to respond. The problem is we tried. This is what we got. Crowgirl is standing right there. She does have an adamantine axe in her hands. I order all troops to attack. It will take them a while to get here. Just enough time for this guy to wreck shop. It swings twice. The recruit bashes it with a silver warhammer, but the attack glances away. The swords dwarf hits it with a shield, but the attack glances away. The militia commander hacks it with her adamantine battle axe in the upper body, fracturing it. It charges the commander. She jumps away. She hits it in the neck, fracturing it. It misses her. It misses her. She chops it in the left foot, fracturing the foot, causing it to fall over. It's not looking good for the Colossus. It's down in the same square as she is. Someone shoots it with a bolt. It's dead? Someone shoots it with a bolt. Nice shot, by the way. But the attack glances away. The militia commander hacks the bronze colossus in the lower body with her well-made adamantine battle axe, and it is mostly cut away from the rest of the torso. Congratulations, Crow Girl, you saved the fort. Also, you disobeyed direct orders. Seeing as how a bronze colossus is a pretty rare thing, the dwarves considered the bronze statue that it turned into when it died to be an extremely valuable treasure. They gave it a prominent place of honor in their tavern. It turned into a statue of forgotten beasts. This is a masterful bronze statue of forgotten beasts created by an unknown artisan. The item is a masterfully designed image of two forgotten beasts in bronze. Let's take a look at Crow Girl's health status, or injuries. Oh, look at that. For all the fighting and training she's been doing, nothing's ever touched her. Amazing. She's killed a small army of goblins personally. She's killed 2 forgotten beasts and a bronze colossus. Crow Girl truly is Swampcavern's mightiest warrior. If you enjoyed this video, I have several tutorials and a lot of videos about this fort fighting goblin sieges or other monsters, like a dragon. So check those out. If you'd like to see still images of my digital worlds, I'll put a link to my Imgur album in the description of this video. If you like my work, you can support my channel by hitting the like button, leaving a comment, or subscribing. If you do subscribe, you have to hit the little bell icon, or it basically doesn't do anything. I'd like to thank all my fans for their continued support. Thanks for watching.